In the case of the library board, I think everybody breathed a sigh of relief when Mayor Ford said no libraries would close. And indeed, it appears as if they won't. And they haven't achieved the 10%, but they have got to a budget of 5.7% reduced, or a 5.7% reduction. And now what you find is they've said, all right, well, here's what it takes to get to 5.7%. Cries of horror are arising because some libraries will be closed on Sunday or will have reduced hours on some mornings. Some libraries will be closed on Sundays. Some libraries will have reduced hours on some mornings. And I say to you this, respectfully, folks, we really don't do anything to make it possible for the politicians to do what we say we want them to do. We want them to contain and, wherever possible, actually reduce spending so that they can avoid increasing our taxes, especially right now. But somehow we always think it's the other guy or the other amount where the savings will be found, or having won a battle to the extent that no libraries will actually close, no library branch will close, the mayor's committed to that, then deciding, okay, well, since we've won that battle, we'll now take strenuous issue with any reduced service of any kind. I've said many times I would go first to the excessive layers of management in the city bureaucracy and have a significant buyout, which could produce significant ongoing savings. And I still hope and recommend they do that and do it soon. I don't think that you'll even notice any difference when they do that. You won't even notice these people are gone. But assuming that does get done and reduces some of the pressure painlessly, because that kind of stuff is relatively painless even for the people being bought out, they're getting a check on the way out. You can't assume the rest of the reductions will come without some sacrifice. For starters, I think you would agree with me that extra money coming from advertising and sponsorship is preferable to charging anything for a library card itself. But even leaving that aside, my guess is that most of you would say that reasonable amounts of advertising having a presence, from library supporters is not a problem. We're not talking here about blaring loudspeakers playing the Pepsi jingle or billboards with scantily clad swimsuit models or, people advertising what's La Senza or Victoria's Secret in the libraries. Taking it right from the library board's own vice chair, here's what he has to say. First, he says, it's time, when things are tough for taxpayers, it's time to think outside the box. And is he ever right about that? All ideas to generate money should be on the table at least for consideration. Nothing should be ruled out as a matter of some ideological prison that people find themselves in, including these two members of council. And secondly, he talks about things like putting sponsor messages on the back of due date slips, or put more ads in the library's publication that comes out telling you kind of what's new at the library, or more sponsorship on the website. Sounds like it'll really corrupt a lot of adults, let alone kids, eh? Whew! A message on the back of a due date slip? My goodness, what will they think of next? An umbrella stand with the Globe and Mail logo? A pop-up ad for pizza on library computers? I mean, think about it. It threatens, these things threaten by themselves the very idea of the intellectual sanctity of a library. And as I said earlier, it may well threaten democracy itself. We'd have to think about that. Councillor Janet Davis, never having met an ideological prison she wouldn't want to stay in, Councillor Janet Davis says she doesn't see advertising as a legitimate way to raise money at the library. Period. In fact, while she didn't say this, so I don't want to put these words in her mouth, but I'll go ahead and try, she would argue, I'm sure, that the only permissible money for libraries is taxpayers' money. Money that comes out of your pocket in taxes from you directly. And that's a legitimate point of view. I just think it's unrealistic and I think it's outdated. I have said here before, and most of you did not disagree with me, that I'm not bothered, for example, by the naming of subway stations after sponsors, especially if it raises a fair bit of money that helps pay for more and better and cleaner subways. I am not as troubled as some who quiver like a bowl of jelly at the prospect of a Pepsi machine being in a school. Oh my God, what are they going to do next? The same thing with even an ad appropriately selected appearing on closed-circuit TV systems in schools. There's a couple of reasons this stuff doesn't faze me. First, if the worry is about the bombardment of people, adults or kids with an advertising message or two, I'm not worried about that just because people are already being bombarded with advertising messages everywhere. I mean, whether it's on your smartphone or on your computer or on your newspaper or on billboards or subway, what they call it, bus stop shelters and so on. Ads on library due date slips will not really add to the massive message bombardment. And if the other concern is about somehow soiling the intellectual or academic purity of the libraries, that is an ill-placed concern, and it's largely too late anyway. Tastefully done. I am not troubled by sponsorship of parks or ice rinks or swimming pools, or tastefully done a few more of those banners on the hydro poles. I just don't think we are so fragile or that libraries are so sacrosanct that modest sponsorship can't be made to work and provide much needed money for books and resources for those libraries at the very same time.
We should be like schools and other public institutions that are there for the public good, that are there to be institutions of learning, institutions that don't inundate the users with messages of buy.
Inundate. A message on the back of a due date slip. Whoa, there's inundation for you. Holy mackerel. Run for the hills on that one.